So final task of the day, task C, we are learning to solve division problems with remainders and carrying. So to warm up, I've got a question. What is a remainder? And if you had to explain it to someone a little bit younger than yourself, maybe someone in Ash or Beach class, how would you describe to them what a remainder is? I've got 2 videos for you to watch, which hopefully will help you understand what a remainder is. And I've also explained it a little bit further in some different videos, which I'll mash together with this one. Now, I've got lots and lots of exercises here, and remember they're going to start off easier and then get more challenging as we go through. Remember what I have said before, you do not have to do it all, and please don't feel like you need to do it all. If something feels easy to you, then move on. If something feels too challenging, then do a couple and stop and give it a break. You can always come back to it. I've split it up into sections. So this red section, exercise 43 to 48, they're all questions that you're going to be using remainders for. So you're dividing and there will be remainder answers. So as you can see, first of all, we've got tens and units dividing by 2, tens and units by 3, tens and units by 4. Then we go on to 100 tens and units by 2, 100 tens and units by 3, 100 tens and units by 4. So hopefully you can see it gets harder each time. Then the blue section is your carrying section. This is where you almost have remainders bit within the question and you have to move your answers into the next column. So their exercises 49 to 51. Your first ones you're going to be dividing by 2 and 3, carrying in your columns. Then you've got dividing by 4, 5, 6 and 7 with the carrying, and then you've got tens and units by 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So that's going to be more challenging if you want a challenge today. Your green section, this last section, which is 58 to 60, this is going to be the most challenging work of the day today because you're going to have to think about carrying within your division sum and also you're going to have remainders, okay? And so your first lot of remainders and carrying is 58. That's going to be hundreds, tens and units, and then you're going to be thinking about dividing by 2, 3 and 4. Then you go into hundreds, tens and units by 5, 6 and 7, and the final exercise 60, the most challenging of the day, is 100 tens and units, and you're going to be dividing by 8 and 9 with your carrying with your remainders. So have a go. It might be that you do a couple of each section and you work out which ones feel good, which ones feel like more of a challenge. Remember to move on if it feels right for you, and do not feel like you have to do it all. If you want to take it further, then I've suggested that you make a poster with some information to help you with your dividing skills today. And if I just scroll down to show you, these are what you're going to be doing. So it might be that you start exercise 43 and you just do a couple to see how you feel. And if you feel like, yeah, this is good, I feel good about this, you can move on to the next one. Have a little go with dividing by 3. How does that feel? Remember to use your multiplication square from task A if you feel like it will be useful for you. Okay, good luck today. Be in touch if you need any help with anything. I know you're going to do a really good job and can't wait to hear how you get on. Have a great afternoon and evening, and I will see you tomorrow for Ari. Bye. I'm going to show you the very first one, but using some pictures to help us. So I've got 23 divided by 2, and if I was using my bus stop method, I'd set it out like this, 23 divided by 2. And I've drawn here 23 dots. Let's double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Got 23 dots. I now need to group them into 2s because we're dividing by 2. So let's do that. So I've got the 2, 2, all of these I'm grouping into 2s. Now, there's one left over. This one that's left over, that's not, it can't be grouped into a 2. That's what we call our remainder. Okay, so this is our remainder. So if we count up, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We've got 11 groups and we've got 1 left over. So we do R, little r for remainder, remainder 1. So let's double check it up here together. So 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 3. 3. Well, we're looking at our 2 times table. 3 is not in our 2 times table. Now we can either go 2, 4. We can go to 2 or 4. They're both close to 3, aren't they? But we're going to be thinking about going to the one before the number. So we're going to go to 2. It's 1 away from 3, isn't it? So to get from 2 to 3, we add on 1. So that is our remainder 1. Okay, so 23 divided by 2 is 11, remainder 1. We're now thinking about remainders, and I'm going to go through 2 examples. One from exercise 43, where we're dividing a 10 and a unit, number by 2. So we think about our 2 times table. This is the kind of easiest example. And then we're going to go through 48, exercise 48, and we're going to be looking at hundreds, tens and units, and I'm dividing it by 4 this time, and we're thinking about remainders. Okay, so there's going to be something left over. It's not a whole number, okay, that the answer is going to be. So how many times does 2 go into 2? If I'm using my 2 times table, let's count up together. We need to get to 2. 2, 1. So 2 goes into 2 once. Now this is where it gets a little bit different, because we're now thinking about our 2 times table. But if I look here, 3 is not in the 2 times table. If I count up, I've got 2, 4. 3 is in between 2 and 4. It's not in the 2 times table. So what do I do? If I count up to 2 once, it's not enough. If I count up to 4 2 times, it's too far. We need to go on the lower side. So we're going to count up just once, so 2. So that's once. But I know if I do the inverse, 1 times 2 is 2, but I've got 3. That means I've got 1 left over. I need to get 1 more to make up the number. So that's going to be my remainder, and we do a little r for that, remainder 1. So my answer is, for 23 divided by 2, the answer is 11, remainder 1. 11, remainder 1. If I do it underneath here, let's double check it using the inverse. So if I have 11 times 2, 1 times 2 is 2, 10 times 2 is 20, that's 22. But I need to add on this extra 1, I've got the remainder. So if I have 22, add 1, that makes 23. So I've got the right answer there, boys and girls. This one here was one that isn't part of the 2 times table, it was left over, but it's okay because we've counted it now and it's all in there. Let's try the next one. So we were counting in our 2 times table, so 2 to get to 2, it is once. And now we need to get to 5. I'm thinking about my 2 times table. I know 5 is not in my 2 times table. So I can go 2, 4, 6. 6 is too far. 2, 4. So I can get to 4, that's 2 times. And how many remainders will I have? I need to get from 4 to 5. 4, 5. I just add on 1 extra, don't I, from 4 to get to 5. So that's remainder 1. Okay? If we go over here, 48, this is exercise 48. We're now thinking about our hundreds, and we're going to be doing counting in our 4 times table. So how many times does 4 fit into 4? Once. How many times does 4 fit into 4? Once. How many times does 4 fit into 5? It's not in the 4 times table, is it? Well, we know that to get to 4, it's once. And how many more do I need to add on to get to 5? Yeah, you're right, it's 1. So it's going to be remainder 1. And you could check that if you wanted to using your inverse, adding or timesing. And now let's look at this one here. So we've got 489 divided by 4. So 4, if we count up, goes into 4 once. 4, 8 goes in twice. 9 isn't in the 8 times table, but we know that 9 is 1 away from 8. So 4, 8, we can get to 8, and then from 8 to 9, we count on 1. So there's going to be 1 remainder. So now we're going to look at some carrying, and I'm looking at exercise 50, question number 7, which is 72 divided by 4. Okay, so let's think about it. We're doing our 4 times table here. We need to think about our 4 times table. So let's count until we get to 7. 4, 8. 7 isn't in our 4 times table, is it? 4, 8. Now we know 8 is too far. It's too far. So we were able to count once. That gets us to 4. 1 times 4 is 4. But we need to get to 7. So in order to do that, we need to do some carrying here. 1 times 4 is 4. We need to get to 7. So 4, 5, 6, 7. So we need to add on 3 more to get to 7. So those 3 we add on, we put into the next number. And now this is no longer 2, it's now 32. So now we need to know how many times we can get from 4, counting in our 4 times table, to get to 32. Now why don't we write our 4 times table out here to help us? So we've got 4, 8, 12, 16. What comes next? 20. What comes next? And next, I'm going to do it up here. And now? Do we need to keep going? We could keep going, just to have it there for later. So there we go. We've got our 4 times table written out. Now we need to get to 42. We need to get to 32, counting in our 4s. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. To get to 32, counting in 4s, it took 8 jumps. So 72 divided by 4 is 18. Can you show me how you would check if it's right using the inverse? How would you do that? Let's look at the next one then. We're counting in our 5s, 5 times tables. So how many times does 5 fit into 6? Got another one here which isn't in the 5 times table. We can get 5, 10, 10 is too far. So 5, we can get to 5 by counting once. 1 times 5 is 5, but we've got 6 here. So to get from 5 to 6, we need to add on how many? We need to add on 1. 5 to 6, we add on 1. So we now have here, not 5, but 15. So how many times does 5 go into 15? 5, 10, 15. It goes in 3 times. So 65 divided by 5 is 13. You could check, is 13 times 5, 65. So now we're thinking about carrying into the next column and remainders. So this is really tricky now, boys and girls. I'm looking at exercise 59, question number 5, where we are thinking about our 5 times tables. The question is 681 divided by 5. So I'm going to use my 5 times table to help me here. So how many times, if I count up in my 5s until I get to 6? 5, 10. 10's too far, 6. So that's 1. Okay, I definitely need to think about carrying over here. So I've got 1 times 5, if I do the inverse, 1 times 5 is 5, but I've got 6. From 5 to 6 is 1, so I'm going to carry the 1 over here. So now I've got to think about how many times 5 fits into 18, or if I count up on my 5s, let's see how close I can get to 18. 5, 10, 15, 20. 20 is too far. 5, 10, 15. So I can count up 3 times. But that only gets me to 15. I need to get to 18. So 15, 16, 17, 18. I need to carry over 3. So now I'm thinking about not 1, but 31. How many times, if I count up my 5s until I get to 31? I already know with my 5 times table that a 5 times table number either ends in a 0 or a 5. So this doesn't end in a 0 or a 5, does it? So I'm going to definitely have a remainder here. Let's do it anyway. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. That would be 6. That gets me to 30, but I need to get to 31. So there's going to be a remainder. And how many remainders are there? To get from 30 to 31? 1. So 681 divided by 5 is 136, remainder 1.